So that would have been it, but none of that is happening, I'm afraid, due to John's filming schedule. So we will be back next week with a proper Bugle, but to ease your devastation in the meantime, I've dug something out of my seldom consulted stand-up back catalogue. It's a joke from my early days on the comedy circuit, so I do hope you enjoy this joke, Buglers. Here it is. Queen Victoria walked into a bar, and the barman said, "Why the long face?" And Queen Victoria said, "Well, as a matter of fact, my husband has just died, leaving me with 9 fatherless children and a country to run. Cut me some slack." And the barman said, "Well, I see you're a bit upset about the death of your husband, that's understandable, but frankly you should still consider it an honour and a privilege to govern your country, not just some kind of chore." And Queen Victoria said, "Come off it, mate. I slog my guts out for this country 24/7, 365. Besides which, I'm leading Britain to an era that many people will look back on as the high point of our nation's entire history." And the barman said, "Leave it out. The whole thing has been based on an arrogant and essentially racist imperialism which will sow the seeds of resentment around the world, which will blow up in Britain's face throughout the 20th century. And Queen Victoria said, "That's a simplistic and one-sided analysis." And the barman said, "Well, maybe, but it's still a valid point." And Queen Victoria said, "Just calm down, mate." And the barman said, "Me calm down? You're the one that needs to calm down. Your uptight attitudes towards sex is going to repress the entire British nation in the bedroom for over 100 years, leading ultimately to the cultural catastrophe of the Carry On films. You've got a lot to answer for. And anyway, with 9 children, you clearly don't mind a good scene to yourself, you hypocritical, saggy-titted old slag." And Queen Victoria said, "I'm not a slag, I only ever slept with my husband." And the barman said, "Well, only because you look like a bag of spanners." And Queen Victoria says, "What do you mean? What does a bag of spanners look like?" And the barman said, "It looks like you." And Queen Victoria said, "Look, mate, if you'd had 9 children, your tits would be a bit past their best as well." And the barman said, "Well, maybe, but you should count yourself very lucky to have 9 children still alive in mid-19th century Britain, what with the high infant mortality rates, poor sanitation, non-existent healthcare, and the general squalor that the vast majority of your people have to suffer. It's probably not so bad if you live in great castles. I don't even think it's a bit irresponsible to have 9 children. That's going to be a huge burden on the taxpayer." And Queen Victoria says, "Oh, don't worry, mate, I'll just marry most of them off to other European royal families, ensuring a peaceful continental Europe for the foreseeable future." And the barman said, "Bullshit! Modern international politics needs more than a few strategic marriages to guarantee peace and stability. Personally, I cannot foresee anything over the next 100 years than a couple of massive wars." And Queen Victoria said, "Oh, for Christ's sake, just calm down and give me a pint of Guinness." And the barman said, "A pint of Guinness? After what you've done to Ireland? Off." And Queen Victoria said, "Don't swear at me, I'm the Queen." And the barman said, "What are you going to do, cut my head off?" And Queen Victoria said, "Well, I might, you pleb." And the barman said, "You'll never get away with it. The whole concept of monarchy has radically altered in Britain over the last 500 years. It's not the Dark Ages anymore." And Queen Victoria said, "Well, you do very well to remember that I was chosen by God to do my job. Chosen by God. Did God choose you to do your job as a barman? Did he? And if he did, why did he make you so at it?" And the barman said, "No, I wasn't chosen by God. I just like the hours. Gives you quite a bit of freedom. And also get to meet people as well. That's quite nice. And I like working with beer. Beer's something I've always liked and something I respect, I can relate to. And you get to meet people as well. That's good." And Queen Victoria said, "Yeah, that must be nice. I do get a bit lonely, actually, being monarch. It's a pretty solitary existence, really. You know, just sitting in my special carriage waving at people, just end up longing for some genuine human interaction sometimes." And the barman said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want a game of darts?" Queen Victoria said, "No, I've got a bit of an elbow injury. It was knighthoods last week, so can't, I'm afraid. Have you got any nuts?" And the barman said, "That's a bit of a personal question." And Queen Victoria said, "No, I just meant nuts. Nuts. Yes, I'm not really into puns." And the barman said, "Yeah, we got salted or dry roasted." Queen Victoria said, "I've salted, please." No, dry roasted." And the barman said, "That'll be 6pence. Queen Victoria said, "Have you got any crisps?" And the barman said, "Don't push your luck." So that's my joke. As you can imagine, it pretty much blew the roof off every single comedy club in Britain. It explains why I'm in such demand as a live act these days. So I hope you liked it. That's it. Until next week, we'll be back with Bugle 105. In the meantime, have the best week in history. Bye-bye!